Please welcome the Chief Information Security Officer at AWS, Chris Betts.
Welcome to re:Invent. It's great to see you all here today. I'm excited to join you today to share the latest security insights and innovations from AWS. See, security is the single most important expectation you have of us. So every day, we wake up determined to find ways to be even more secure than we were yesterday. And this goes beyond good intentions. For example, security reports into our CEO. Building security into our organization accomplishes three key things for us. First, it sends a signal to the entire organization that security is the top priority. Second, it keeps the CEO and the leadership team well informed on important security initiatives. And third, it helps me stay closely aligned with the CEO's priorities. As business needs change, we need to be able to rapidly recalibrate, and it enables us to change our security capabilities to match the business. One of the most important security capabilities we invest in is our culture. We've invested in our culture of security for over 18 years, and we will never be done. Alongside technology, tools, processes, culture is a key element of our security strategy. Without culture, the best tools and processes fail to adapt. The goal is to create a security strategy that is deeply embedded in culture, where security is a proactive, internal mindset rather than a reactive, externally imposed obligation. And we found that ownership is a vital component of a culture of security. Ownership represents a personal investment in an organization's security and a genuine understanding and commitment to security best practices. Ownership has a special meaning to us at Amazon because from the earliest days, it's been one of our leadership principles. Everyone, regardless of their level in the organization, is expected to be an owner. To be an owner, you need to embrace escalation. Look, in some organizations, escalations have a negative connotation. At Amazon, we see escalations as a powerful catalyst for change. For example, there's no consequences for reporting something in error because we'd much rather investigate than not hear about it. We want folks to raise their hand if there's even the hint of a security issue or when there's an opportunity to more tightly integrate security into our business. Security escalations allow us to act quickly and decisively, and they bring the organization together to drive solutions that might not have emerged otherwise. At the scale of AWS, you might ask, how can everyone really take ownership of security? Well, to begin with, as you'd expect, my team provides a number of critical capabilities and services that support and enable our engineering and service teams to fulfill their security responsibilities effectively, such as training, consultation, threat modeling tools, automated code scanning frameworks and tools, design reviews, penetration testing, automated API frameworks, and much more. However, doing this at scale doesn't just require the right technical capabilities, but the right knowledge in the right places. Let me illustrate with an example. Like most organizations, we have more software engineers than we have security engineers. And we require that every new service, feature, solution, vendor application, piece of hardware, everything undergoes a security review by an application security engineer, one of our very own, before launch. The security reviewer makes the final go, no-go decision. As you can imagine, this is putting a strain on our security teams and led to launch delays. Security has to be here to enable the business, not slow it down. So we took a look at our processes and we invented the Guardians program. So through Guardians, my team trains developers and each service team to be security champions. We provide them with tools, resources, and guidance to help them address security considerations at each and every stage in development. Guardians, who are part of our service teams, help developers make the right decisions early, and they embed security more deeply into their solutions. The impact has been nothing short of incredible. The Security Guardians programs reduced security findings, accelerated their review process, and improved overall security at scale across AWS. Security Champions programs are incredibly effective for accelerating secure development. Now, I'd like to welcome Rodrigo Castillo, CTO of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, to tell us how they've used similar techniques to support the bank's DevSecOps transformation.
Thank you very much, Chris, for having me here and sharing our insights about our DevSecOps transformation. The DevSecOps transformation is a cultural approach that we have taken to build tomorrow's bank today for our customers. At CBA, we have established a technology strategy to build together a brighter future for all. These pillars are helping us drive the transformation required to create the best digital experiences for our customers with a fast pace, but in a secure and stable way. An organization primed for delivery is all about ways of working, including our DevSecOps transformation. A modern technology states are a set of initiatives to move our technology stack to modern architecture enabled by the power of the cloud. Our goal is to be the leading bank on AI and Gen AI, driven by our world-class data and AI pillar, where we have invested a lot of energy. And being the biggest bank in Australia, serving 1 in 3 Australians and 1 in 4 businesses in Australia, we have a huge responsibility to keep our services secure and available for our customers and our communities as well. Therefore, security, resiliency, and reliability are a top priority for us. To achieve our goals to transform the ways we work and to deliver at pace in a secure way, we created a 12 capability model where we focus on the maturity of the teams rather than the tools they use. So we created capabilities, for example, automated security. Instead of pushing for specific tools for security, we focus on the capability itself, giving the teams flexibility to work where they need most of the help, and in a complex and diverse technology environment, we let them find solutions by themselves. Some teams can be more mature in testing, for example, and we don't want them to focus on that if they are already mature. They might choose automated security or automated control assurance to work on, and it's where they need most of the help. In just a year, we have doubled the number of changes delivered to production and reduced the number of incidents that are impacting our customers in a higher proportion, and the duration of those incidents as well. We have had a 4 times increase in the velocity of the cyber reviews, and each of these capabilities is highly automated, changing completely the way we monitor compliance of our controls. We used to perform assurance of around 2,500 controls attributes per year. With this model, we are doing more than 12,000 per month. So it's a huge increase. And we still have a lot more control assurance processes to be automated. So we are just starting. As I say, security is our top priority. We can go faster without security. There is a lot of technical steps being taken, but the major shift that we have seen is the culture in our teams when it's related to security. Our engineering teams are now enabled with more than 800 security champions that were trained on our security academy. This is playing a massive cultural shift on the engineering approach to security. Today, engineering teams are doing the majority of their security designs. They are taking end-to-end ownership of their services, security included. They don't see that security is something that another team will do for them. It's being done by them within their team. The second version of our Security Academy has been launched, giving new modules to continue developing our engineering teams and be trained on security. The other big change that we have seen is how engineers feel. All these factors and the DevSecOps transformation are enabled in them. But the greatest result is that they are feeling happier. We have seen our engineering NPS double in the past 4 quarters. They feel that they can contribute more without creating security vulnerabilities or technical debt, and they feel more valued. So these are the places that we have seen all those cultural shifts happen. A blameless culture. We are not punishing people. We implemented the AWS weekly operational review this year and has been a great success. More problems are being solved from the root, and our time to resolve incidents has reduced to half. Engineers are accountable end-to-end for the services, including security, as I say. They don't see that cyber is responsible or an operational team is going to run their services for them. They are taking the ownership. These cultural changes have not only helped us improve the velocity and quality of our deliveries, but we have seen a great improvement in our innovation culture. It has created a lot of space to, for example, enable all our engineering teams with Gen AI tools and capabilities, with a strong set of foundations that are already giving amazing results. And as I say, we are just starting, but the results so far are promising. It will all result in a better environment for our teams, our colleagues, our customers, and our communities. So thank you for having me today. I will now hand back to Chris.
Great example of how taking a cultural approach can drive a better security outcome. Culture feeds security innovation. At AWS, you see a lot of our innovation, but a lot of our innovation is behind the scenes. And today, I want to share some stories about long-term investments that we've made to help protect you and your data, and to maintain assurance that we will continue to remain secure over time. AWS is secure by design. We leverage industry-leading practices, technologies, and controls deeply integrated across all layers to provide robust security and data protection for your applications and data. Our deep commitment to security goes all the way down to the silicon. Graviton4 is designed to be our most secure, powerful, and energy-efficient processor to date. Graviton4 fully encrypts all high-speed physical hardware interfaces to help protect against hardware attacks. Data stored in memory is encrypted at all times, even during operations, helping to prevent unauthorized access to sensitive information. Pointer authentication makes it harder for threat actors to successfully execute code injection or control flow hijacking attacks. Branch target identification, new in Graviton4, offers an extra layer of defense against sophisticated attacks that aim to manipulate a program's execution path. Graviton-based EC2 instances provide these advanced security features, the best price performance for your applications, all while using up to 60% less energy than other comparable EC2 instances. And security doesn't stop at the silicon. All CPU types benefit from the security built into the foundation of EC2, the AWS Nitro system. The Nitro system completely eliminates human administrative access. All Nitro operations are performed via secure, authenticated, authorized, logged, and audited least privilege administrative APIs. And no administrative API has the ability to access your data on the hardware. Every critical element of the Nitro system has been designed to be live updatable without impacting your applications. We can update the firmware on the Nitro cards and even the Nitro hypervisor itself without requiring that your instances be rebooted. And AWS provides even more data isolation with always-on confidential computing. Confidential computing uses specialized hardware and firmware to help protect code and data from outside access during processing. Confidential computing has two distinct security and privacy dimensions. The most important dimension, the one we hear most often from you, is the protection of your code and data from the operator of the underlying cloud infrastructure. And that's provided by the Nitro system. But the second dimension is the ability to divide your applications into more trusted and less trusted components. Using Nitro enclaves, you can fully isolate compute environments to process your highly sensitive data. Enclaves are separate virtual machines, hardened and highly constrained. They have no persistent storage, no interactive access, and no external networking. Nitro enclaves use the Nitro hypervisor to further isolate the CPU and memory of the enclave from users, applications, and libraries on the parent instance. And we've even extended these security models into the serverless space. Since 2014, AWS has offered serverless computing through AWS Lambda. The design of Lambda required that functions from different customers could not run in the same virtual machine. That meant we had to choose between two security approaches. One, containerization is fast and resource efficient, but it didn't provide sufficient, strong isolation between the compute workloads of different customers. The other, running code inside a virtual machine, offered greater security at the cost of the computational overhead. So to begin with, we accepted the lower utilization in order to maintain the isolation promise. But we weren't satisfied, and so we kept innovating. We wanted both security and efficiency, and we wanted even more granular isolation for those of you with different levels of data sensitivity. And so we built and open-sourced Firecracker, a virtual machine monitor purpose-built for serverless workloads. See, Firecracker offers the best of both worlds. The security benefits of traditional virtual machines with the speed and efficiency of containers. And to raise the security bar even higher, we wrote Firecracker in Rust, a modern programming language that provides thread and memory safety. And then we took a look and said, but what if we wanted assurances about other properties, such as the absence of runtime errors or functional correctness? And for that, we created an open-sourced Connie, Rust Verifier, an automated reasoning tool for analyzing and proving properties of Rust code. What do I mean by analyzing and proving properties? Well, when it comes to testing complex systems, the number of possible inputs and conditions to consider can be nearly infinite. Something is practically impossible for traditional testing methods to solve. Design reviews, code audits, and stress testing are all invaluable tools. We use them regularly, and we always will. But subtle bugs can still evade detection, particularly in large-scale fault-tolerant architectures. And some issues might be rooted in design rather than in implementation. And so we supplemented traditional testing with more powerful techniques based on math and logic. And this is where automated reasoning comes to play. While traditional testing focuses on validating system behavior under specific scenarios, automated reasoning uses formal logic methods to verify system behavior under any possible scenario. With automated reasoning, we can help provide you with greater assurance in the security of the cloud and security in the cloud. And so we call this provable security. We use automated reasoning to verify the correctness of cryptographic protocols, authorization logic, consistency of storage systems, just to name a few. Automated reasoning powers many of our access analysis features. For example, CEDAR, the authorization policy language we released last year, uses automated reasoning to verify that its authorization decisions are correct. And finally, we use automated reasoning to verify security mechanisms such as firewalls and intrusion detection systems. Over the last decade, we've increasingly applied automated reasoning within AWS to help us prove that our cloud infrastructure and services are operating correctly and securely. AWS is the first and only cloud provider to use automated reasoning at this scale. And we believe we're at the beginning of an era in which critical properties like security, compliance, availability, durability, and safety can all be proved automatically for large-scale cloud architectures. Our behind-the-scenes security work is not limited to just technology foundations. We also leverage our scale to significantly boost our threat intelligence accuracy, given the sheer number of signals we get to observe. Let's talk a bit about how we identify and stop malicious online activities to help make the internet a safer place for you and for everybody. Maintaining a high-quality list of malicious domain names is crucial to monitoring cybercriminal behavior. To do that, we've created a powerful neural network graph model that observes more than 1 trillion DNS requests across AWS regions every day. And every day, it detects an average of 124,000 malicious domains. This super graph can help predict malicious domains days, weeks, and sometimes even months before they show up on threat intel feeds from third parties. We also have an internal security service for Active Defense, which detects malicious scanning behaviors targeting AWS infrastructure. Active Defense gathers threat intelligence by processing layer 4 network traffic, service logs, and data from our threat sensor network. In 2023 alone, Active Defense blocked over 27 billion attempts to enumerate S3 buckets, and nearly 2.7 trillion attempts to discover vulnerable services on EC2. And despite monitoring over 8 trillion requests in the last 3 years, Active Defense has only generated just 12 false positive mitigation recommendations. Threat intelligence is most valuable when it's used. Our approach is to build threat intelligence into our security tools. All of these powerful capabilities enrich the security services that you rely on to make threat intelligence available, timely, actionable, and practical for all customers. We also share this crucial information with customers that we believe may be targeted or compromised by malicious actors to help them take steps to reduce their risk and prevent disruptions to their organization. And to make the internet a safer place, we notify organizations, even those who are not our customers, if we see signals that suggest that they may be compromised. So far, we've talked about some of the work we do behind the scenes to provide you with a secure foundation for innovation. And as you're about to see, we also continue to simplify security at scale and expand the reach and power of our security controls. Please join me in welcoming Vice President and Distinguished Engineer, Becky Weiss.
Thank you so much, Chris. And that's right, that means we got to the part of this talk where we talk about our launches. And we have a set of really great launches this year. Okay, so at AWS, you've heard us say that we work backwards from the customer, and that's no less true in the realm of security than anywhere else. Now, in my capacity being an engineer at AWS, over the last decade plus, I've worked with many of you, our customers, on techniques for securing your cloud environment. And from all of those conversations over a decade, I've seen a common theme. So our customers, over time, the importance and scale of the applications that you're running in AWS grows, and so does the number of environments you have, and so does the number of operators that you have working in those environments. And so many of you are looking for a scalable, straightforward, preventive control that'll give you some assurance that, particularly at scale, you've done it right. You haven't misconfigured anything. You need the confidence that even if an operator accidentally misconfigures some resource for excessive access, hey, even if they're being malicious or actively trying to subvert your organization's security standards, your data stays within your perimeter and outsiders stay out, except by explicit and highly visible exception. So many of you for years have been using features of AWS organizations like service control policies. These define these broad-based IAM policies that attach to all of your authenticated callers and all of your accounts. For example, you might be using these to prevent data from moving to AWS resources that are outside your control. And over the years, we've progressively launched more IAM and VPC features as well as prescriptive guidance to help make defining this data perimeter in AWS ever more straightforward. So I am absolutely thrilled to announce that we very recently took a major step forward in simplifying these data perimeter controls by launching resource control policies. Resource control policies are a feature of AWS organizations that enable you to attach a single broad-based policy to your resources across your organization. So this defines an outer bound on the maximum amount of access that can be granted by the cloud operators in your accounts. So for example, one thing you could use a resource control policy for is you could attach it to your organization to enforce that no outside access is permitted to any of your S3 buckets. Before that, if that was your goal, you had to achieve it by monitoring hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of S3 buckets across a large organization. Now you have a single central place to define that. So be sure to check out our updated data perimeters guidance. There's a QR code right up here, and that's going to demonstrate some common patterns that you can use to block all kinds of unintended access to your resources at scale. Another thing we've heard from you over the years, particularly when we talk to you about IAM and good IAM practices, you've told us that managing, auditing, and rotating credentials for an AWS account's root identity can be an operational burden, particularly at scale. So, and this makes sense because the root credentials to an account, after all, these are very powerful. They have permission to everything in the account, and they're also long-lived. So proper management is of utmost importance. That's why we've been strongly recommending multi-factor authentication for these credentials. But wouldn't it be better if these credentials simply didn't exist in the first place? If there are no root credentials, then there are no root credentials to rotate, no root credentials to audit, no root credentials for which to enforce multi-factor authentication. Okay, sure, that sounds great and everything, but then what would you do in those rare cases where root level privilege is actually needed? So that's why we recently launched a way to centrally manage root access to the accounts in an AWS organization. This capability allows you to delete the root credentials in your accounts. That means instead of managing these long-lived, high-privileged credentials, an organization-level security administrator can produce temporary, narrowly scoped credentials on demand when those rare situations arise that would require them. Let's move to the network. Many of you have virtual private clouds, networks in AWS, and they're owned by various development teams. If you're, you might have hundreds of these. And you want to give these developers the ability to innovate and to move fast, but you're also a little bit worried that with the power to configure the network, there's a risk of misconfiguration leading to unintended exposure. And for this, to directly address this concern, we've released VPC Block Public Access. So you might be wondering, with VPC Block Public Access, so now do you have to go around to virtual private clouds all around your account and configure each one of them for block public access? The great news is you don't have to, because we have also, I am thrilled to introduce declarative policy. So this is a new feature of AWS organizations that allows you to standardize desired configurations for resources across your entire AWS organization. So our first integrations here are EC2, EBS, and VPC. These are the first AWS services to support declarative policies. That includes this brand new VPC block public access feature that we just talked about. So you can declare centrally that all virtual private clouds in your organization have block public access enabled. It gets enforced at creation time. And that means less dependence on all these after-the-fact detective and reactive controls. So previously, you could have accomplished this with a combination of fine-grained IAM policies and detective controls that either remediate or alarm on configurations that aren't up to the standards of your organization. So those approaches were and continue to be effective. But when we talk to customers, we hear that what they're going after is more of a secure by default environment for their operators. And where a violation of the standards get communicated with clear, actionable, customizable error messages, which makes it easy for your operators to comply in the first place. Declarative policies currently support a number of other commonly desired configuration standards. For example, suppose you have a trusted provider of, it's often called golden or approved Amazon machine images, AMIs, for your EC2 instances. You want to enforce that when people launch EC2 instances, they launch them with one of these golden AMIs. So there's a declarative policy to be able to enforce that as well. Now, we know that a common customer challenge is too many security findings. And that often requires time and resources to triage. So we're really excited to announce Amazon GuardDuty Extended Threat Detection. So this extended threat detection is powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's trained at AWS scale, so you can rapidly identify and remediate advanced multi-stage cyber threats. So this new transformative model enables more accurate and comprehensive detections, while automated correlation of threat signals helps reduce triage time, operational overhead, and costs. It also offers remediation recommendations based on AWS best practices and MITRE ATT&CK tactic and technique mappings. So in a recent 3-month beta spanning tens of thousands of AWS accounts, GuardDuty identified hundreds of potential threats, including accurately detecting a credential compromise even before the customer reported it. So with extended threat detection, you get high confidence insights that help you streamline your response and focus your time on the most critical issues. Now, incident response teams, you find sometimes they need some help preparing for, responding to, and recovering from security events that involve an AWS environment. So to help your teams navigate these situations, AWS Security Incident Response is a new detection and response service that helps them prioritize, coordinate, and execute security incident work streams faster and more efficiently. Security Incident Response triages security findings, provides 24/7 access to security experts, and helps your incident response team with coordination and AWS native tooling during their response. So with this service, you can quickly respond and recover from security incidents so that you can maintain business continuity, retain customer trust, and minimize the potential financial impact of security events. We're also excited to announce a zero ETL integration with Amazon Security Lake and OpenSearch. In 2022, we launched this Security Lake to help you centralize and analyze your security data from various sources. So Security Lake normalizes data using the Open Cybersecurity Security Schema Framework, or OCSF. That gives you easy access to multiple analytics solutions and also supports generative AI-powered insights. Of course, once you had all of this data, the next thing you wanted to do was search it. And Amazon OpenSearch is a fantastic tool for the job. So we are excited to announce this integration. So there's no longer any need for you to build complex ETL pipelines or duplicate the data. With this zero ETL integration with Amazon Security Lake, you can use OpenSearch to search your security lake exactly where it is. So how is that for a great set of security launches this year? So Chris, I'd like you to come back and tell them about some of AWS's more forward-looking security initiatives.
At AWS, we're proud of our history of continuously investing and looking around corners to anticipate security challenges of the future. This includes embedding security into the core of our services and leveraging quantum-resistant technologies and artificial intelligence to stay ahead of evolving threats. AWS is committed to helping you navigate the transition to post-quantum security. For the last decade, we've been actively involved in the standardization of post-quantum cryptography algorithms, working with global organizations like NIST, ETSI, and Open Quantum Safe Initiative. These new algorithms are designed to be resistant to attacks from quantum computers. And for the past 5 years, we've deployed early versions of those algorithms in our open source libraries, such as AWS LC, and our security critical services, so that you can test the performance impact of moving to post-quantum cryptography. Now that NIST has standardized these algorithms, you'll see us deploy this technology throughout AWS as we prepare for a post-quantum world. And as you move quickly to implement generative AI in your organizations, you need to know that your data is being handled securely across the AI lifecycle, including data preparation, training, and inferencing. The security of the model weights is paramount to protecting your data and maintaining model integrity. And that's why we continually invest in building capabilities that make it practical for you to secure your generative AI applications. Let's look at a more detailed view of Nitro. Today, the Nitro system fully protects the confidentiality of AI use cases, just as it does for other compute workloads. The Nitro system ensures that each instance is fully protected both from other customers and from AWS, and GPUs are never shared across instances or customer boundaries. This is the first dimension of the two dimensions of confidential computing that we discussed earlier. Beyond core Nitro protections, you can utilize Nitro enclaves to add additional protections when two cooperating parties need to maintain a clear security and isolation boundary within the same overall workload. You may recall that isolating different parts of a workload at the customer level is the second dimension of confidential computing. For example, in responsible AI testing, an organization that specializes in testing methodologies may want to provide its test to an AI model provider in a way that the model provider can only see the results of the test without any mechanism for observing or recording those tests. Conversely, the model provider may want to test a pre-release model that cannot be directly accessed by the testing provider. Using an escrow AWS account run by a neutral third party, model providers and testing providers can come together to run their models and tests, where the tests execute against the model from within an AWS enclave, providing complete protection of the code and data of one party from the other party, yet allowing their isolated systems to work in close cooperation to achieve their mutual goals. But there is so much more that we want to do here. One of the limitations of today's confidential computing with GPUs is that the EC2 instance associated with the GPU has full control over it. But what if we wanted to create the same kind of close cooperation between parties in an AI workload, such as we described for the testing scenario, but this time have the isolation applied to the operation of the generative AI model itself and the inferencing operations against it? Today, you have to run the inferencing client and the model server on different hosts to achieve that needed isolation. But can we provide that level of isolation on a single server, maximizing performance, minimizing cost? Earlier this year, we shared a sneak peek into our plan to build new isolation features directly into the GPU hardware to achieve this kind of separation. And today, I'm excited to share some additional details. In April, we announced plans to offer Nitro end-to-end encryption flow and AWS-designed Trainium 2, as well as GPU instances based on NVIDIA's upcoming Blackwell architecture, which both offer secure communications between devices. Through the Nitro system, you will be able to cryptographically validate your AI applications to AWS KMS. Only after these security checks pass will the AI data be decrypted and able to be processed. This enables you to securely process sensitive AI data using a machine learning accelerator while preventing access from unauthorized people or applications. We are very excited about the new possibilities this technology opens up for more confidential AI workloads, and so are our Bedrock model provider partners. One such strategic partner is Anthropic, the provider of the industry-leading Claude model family, whose CISO will join us on stage today to discuss the partnership, why you should use AWS and Bedrock, and most excitingly, this new capability I just described. Please welcome Jason Clinton, Chief Information Security Officer at Anthropic.
Thank you. Great. Glad to be here. Thanks, Chris. All right. So, and AWS has been an amazing partner in developing confidential computing. Anthropic is excited to be partnering with AWS to develop the next generation of privacy and security in generative AI. Today, AWS delivers Claude to customers with a range of compliance certifications that Anthropic, as a young company, doesn't yet have. Customers get access to frontier intelligence in a safe and secure environment backed by Nitro. Anthropic never has access to customer data, and customers have a crisp compliance narrative. AWS is where data is processed, keeping customers confident that their data is protected and confidential. So why are we announcing even more security investments today? I don't know about you, but the last 2 years of the Gen AI revolution has seemed like a staggering rate of change. With 3 major frontier-leading model announcements this year, Anthropic has been leading and shipping features at an unprecedented rate. Our most recent update 6 weeks ago, Claude running on AWS represents the most advanced capabilities across a range of areas at the best cost for intelligence and latency. Across a range of benchmarks, Claude is leading the pack, running and on AWS delivers the best performance across a range of latency metrics. The rate of advancement is truly astounding. So perhaps the most salient, the industry is abuzz with coding revolution that's occurring inside of companies of everyone in this audience. Programmers are discovering huge productivity boosts from Gen AI. And Claude 3.5 Sonnet is leading that revolution. Claude is the undisputed leader in coding benchmarks and performance, and companies across the tech sector are reporting 25% of their code now is being written by large language models. And the future models that from Anthropic will bring even more capabilities in this space. And Claude 3.5 Sonnet is also giving us new capabilities and breakthroughs that portend changes in the computing landscape that will fundamentally alter the way that we think about cybersecurity. Just this month, we announced computer use, the ability for Claude to perform commands on your behalf. And while it's still early days, this is a preview of a world where AI uses interfaces designed for humans to bridge the long tail of enterprise process automation, making it possible to take user interfaces and turn them into automation with no APIs needed at all. And across every sector of the economy, we're seeing an intelligence explosion as companies take existing models and arrange them into trees of intelligences that turn business processes into automation where workers are using these intelligences to achieve tasks. This brings new auditing and security and identity challenges to this space, though. So there's new challenges emerging every day in this space. So from our perspective on the frontier, I'm here to tell you that the cybersecurity implications are both an opportunity and a challenge. I can see just over the horizon. And what I'm seeing is that we need to prepare for what's coming. Where is all of this going? And how are we going to actually prepare? There's many hints of what's coming first. First, in August, DARPA ran an AI cyber challenge. In the semifinals round, 7 teams were awarded $14 million for demonstrating the ability to do fully autonomous vulnerability discovery. Last month, there were multiple papers showing fully automated vulnerability and zero-day discovery. And just this quarter, multiple startups have launched that have products on the market offering fully automated AI-driven pen testing. In the context of nation states, the ability to find, operationalize, and deploy vulnerability discovery is of strategic national interest. With all of the changes that are happening to and with AI adoption, enterprises are going to face a coming wave of demand to use AI tools with data of all types. As we adopt, employees are going to be connected with and directing AI agents that work through process automations. Soon, you'll ask AIs to do work for hours or days and come back with finished results, accessing literally everything that it or the employee has access to achieve the goal that's been directed at the agent. How are we going to secure this against even the most advanced attackers, though? So what are we doing also to hold ourselves accountable and be responsible players through this transition? Anthropic has adopted the responsible scaling policy to make sure that we confront the challenges of those benchmarks head on. We've been pleased to see that there have been other industry players adopt something similar, and other companies have similar policies in the works. It's modeled after the CDC's biosafety levels. We've developed an AI safety level, an ASL, with increasing levels of risk. Higher risk means higher security, both for protecting the model weights and also for protecting the operating environment serving customer data. So as the capabilities that I've just discussed increase, the cybersecurity, which is a dual-use technology and has all of these implications that I've discussed today, is increasing the sophistication of the security controls have to advance with that. And while it's not certain, I think it's very likely that ASL 3 will happen soon. And confidential computing can be a key pillar in the security requirements through ASL 4. Again, we're at ASL 2, ASL 3 coming soon, ASL 4 after that. This gives Anthropic a solid foundation for protecting model weights and customers in a mutually confidential environment. But I'm an engineer by training. And if I were your shoes, listening to these promises, I think that I'd want to hear specifics. So how exactly is Anthropic and AWS going to work together to achieve the confidentiality goals that I've just described? This is a bit of an eye chart, so I apologize for that. But the technical details are actually on the screen. It's important that we're transparent so that we can be clear about exactly what the technology is pretending. And you can be confident that even in a confidential environment, the environment is protected from the most sophisticated attackers. So in this diagram, what is occurring is that Anthropic is encrypting the model weights to a key that is only accessible inside of Bedrock. Bedrock, using the new confidential boundary primitives that Chris announced just now, is going to attest to KMS that the operating environment has all of the cryptographic properties of the Nitro execution environment enforced. So that attestation goes to KMS. KMS unwraps the decrypting key that is used to bootstrap the confidential boundary. And then Anthropic only needs to provide a container that looks at the confidential primitives that are being provided by the hardware. And then those confidential environment is being used to bootstrap an identity that is offered to KMS with that attestation, and then the unwrapping key is available to unwrap the model weights inside of that environment. So once the environment is fully booted up, customers can then interact directly with those model weights in the serving environment. And all of this is backed by the AWS Nitro platform guarantees, the customer environment, the Anthropic environment as well. So by using these new industry-leading designs, AWS has given Anthropic confidence in the security that the model weights are secure, but also customers have confidence that the confidential computing environment is being used to harden against even the most advanced attackers. And with that, I'll hand it back to Chris to close us out.
Thanks, Jason. I hope you leave this session inspired and equipped with new insights and strategies to raise the security bar in your own organization. If I could only offer you 4 things, these are the 4 things that I'd recommend that you consider. First, I encourage you to think about piloting a Security Champions program to help address security considerations throughout the development lifecycle. Second, review our updated data perimeters prescriptive guidance to learn how you can simplify your data perimeter with resource control policies. Third, implement VPC block public access. It's 1 click, and we strongly recommend it. And fourth, leverage declarative policies to standardize your desired configurations for resources across your entire AWS organization. Whether you want to build deep technical expertise or learn how to apply foundational security best practices, there's a wealth of opportunities for you to learn more about security this week. You can explore more on security culture, dive deeper into the security of AWS infrastructure, or learn more about the numerous service launches Becky shared with you. I encourage you to meet and trade ideas with AWS experts, interact with the latest AWS innovations, and connect with peers on the same cloud journey as you. And finally, if you're like me and passionate about security, there is no better place to dive deeper into security solutions from AWS than Reinforce. I hope you'll join us in Philadelphia in June to learn about the latest AWS security innovations, get direct access to AWS teams and partners who build the security tools that you rely on, and connect with cloud security peers from across the world. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of reInvent.